If you are considering moving to Toronto, then there are some things that people probably wish they knew before coming here. I've got some insights that I want to share with you. I think they're going to help you navigate making your transition to your new home. Now I'm going to start with a much maligned topic by many people living in Toronto, and that would be the city's subway system. Now, Toronto is a relatively new city compared to other major international cities, so our subway system isn't as quite well developed as the ones you'd find in New York or Paris or London, for example. And so that means it's probably going to take you a little bit longer than you think it would to get somewhere by subway. And when you're planning your route, you're probably going to add about, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes to your route, just in case you miss a train car or to deal with any delays that seem to happen fairly frequently on the subway. Now, I will say that the subway system is very easy to navigate, likely due to its simplicity. So there's two lines that can take you north, south, east, west across the city. Line 1, the Yonge University line, is a U shape with each branch following, you guessed it, Yonge Street and University Avenue. Now the two branches of the U connect at the bottom at Union Station. That's the main terminal for the entire city, and it's right in the heart of downtown. Line 2, the Bloor Danforth line, runs east-west basically in a straight line, and it cuts right across the middle of the city. Now there is another east-west track that will run along Eglinton Avenue, but it's still under construction. It has been for about a decade now. Most people are hoping that it will be up and running next year in 2024. There are buses and streetcars that run through the entire city, but only the streetcars that have their own dedicated lane are efficient, like what you'd find on St. Clair Avenue. Everything else will experience traffic-related delays. While we're on this getting around the city theme, there's a misconception that I run into frequently when I work with people who are moving here from far away and they're unfamiliar with Toronto. They hear or they've been told that they should move to certain neighborhoods, trendy ones like Leslieville, Roncesvalles, the beaches, but those clients also tell me that they need great access to transit because they need to get downtown for work. Those three neighborhoods specifically are ones that I hear a lot. Of course I would. They are great neighborhoods, but they are not terribly transit friendly. You're looking at about an hour to get to the heart of downtown, unless you're willing to pay extra to get on the GO train or the Up Express if that route makes sense. Speaking of traffic, there's a lot of it. Now, that shouldn't come as a surprise. Most big cities, if not all of them, have traffic problems, but road congestion is a very common complaint among Torontonians. Part of the issue is that it's nearly impossible to do road work here in the winter, so there will be construction-related delays that will impact traffic through spring, summer, and fall. So to give you an example of drive times, my family and I, we live in Midtown, and if we want to go visit our friends who live, let's say at High Park, or another group of friends who live in the Junction, it would be a 30-minute drive at the best of times, and it could very easily be 45. Now there's also everyone's favorite small talk topic, weather. Now everybody assumes that all of Canada is cold all of the time and that we live in snow houses, but reality is Toronto's winters aren't nearly as cold as, say, Ottawa's, for example, and we don't get nearly as much snow as a place like Barrie, which is only an hour north of the city. Now, summer can get quite hot and very, very humid too. A lot of people get surprised by the mugginess, and it is not uncommon for temperatures to go above 30 degrees. Spring can be very pleasant, although we do get the occasional reminder of winter. And fall in Toronto is really beautiful. There are a ton of mature trees, and the leaves turning color are really a sight to see. Speaking of which, one aspect that pleasantly surprised me after I moved here was the city's dedication to green spaces. Toronto boasts an impressive number of parks, trails, and gardens offering ample opportunities for outdoor activities and relaxation. Whether you're taking a stroll through High Park, biking along the Waterfront Trail, or having a picnic in Trinity Bellwoods Park, you'll quickly realize that nature is never too far away in Toronto. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cost of living. There's no question that Toronto is a very pricey city, especially when it comes to housing. Over the course of my career, 8 years now, house, condo, and rental prices have shot up significantly. And I found that people coming from other major cities in Canada, like Montreal or Halifax, they're quite surprised at not only how expensive the housing options are in Toronto, but what kind of sacrifices they'll have to make size-wise. They're very accustomed to living in a large 3-bedroom detached home, and for that same housing budget, that basically gets them a 2-bedroom condo that's about a third of the size of the house that they're currently living in. So there's no question that has been a bit of a head scratcher for newcomers to Toronto, getting their heads wrapped around housing options and the costs. Now here's something really interesting that I had no idea about until I moved here. And that's on long holiday weekends and during the summer holidays, the city really empties out. Now, it's not like it's a ghost town or anything like that, but the roads become quite a bit emptier and the city just feels substantially less busy. I really like it. I don't want to make it sound like the city is terrible and people leave at their first opportunity that they can. That's not what I mean at all. But people who live in the city, they need a break from it every now and then. I'm sure that's common amongst every major city. And so what happens is when they have an extended period of time off, they will flock to cottage country up north, or they'll head to wine country in Niagara, or they'll head to the airport so they can take a vacation. So if you stay in the city at those times, you can explore the incredible art galleries and museums that Toronto has to offer, like the Royal Ontario Museum, or take the kids to the Toronto Zoo, Ripley's Aquarium. There is a ton to do in the city that I think Torontonians who have grown up here easily lose sight of all those options. So those are some of the things that I've learned since moving here, and they are things that I hear quite often from clients that I've helped make Toronto their new home. I'm Jamie Harnish. I am a broker with Bosley Real Estate, and I'm not from Toronto originally, but it's been my home for 8 years now, and I love it. And if you're considering making Toronto your home, I would love to help you with your real estate needs. You can send me an email at jharnish@bosleyrealestate.com. And while you're here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.